Hey, Veronica here, and today we're going to be discussing about how you can get better gains from your glute exercises, such as the hip thrust, with the equipment that you have at your home gym, or maybe just even equipment that you have at your local gym. A lot of us don't get the best booty workout because we're not feeling the glutes and we're feeling the hamstrings or the quadriceps or our lower back. And this clip is going to explain everything to you on how to correct all of those issues and get the best hip thrust in your program. All right, enjoy.
An aerobic step with riser is a good option because you can adjust the height to suit your body. It is also stable with long risers on rubber surfaces, which is common in most gyms and not so expensive to purchase for your own home gym. I recommend placing it against the wall for added safety, and many of my clients, including myself, love the way the curved edge on the aerobic step feels on our backs. But I also drape it with a yoga mat just to protect us a little bit more. The most common setup is to use 5 risers per side, which makes the same height as a hip thruster. Shorter individuals can use 4 risers per side, and taller can use 6 per side. It's really important to test it out and make sure it feels right. Before I got my risers from my gym, I used to use a bench, which works okay when you follow these tips I'm about to share with you. First, place the bench against the wall to avoid any accidents. Most benches are too high, and therefore adding a block or a thick mat to sit on the floor will help you avoid back pain. Adjust it to your proper height, and a good indication is that your shoulder blades line up with the edge of the bench. And see if you can fully do a thrust and activate your glutes before loading up your hip with a bar or a dumbbell. The second version is to decline the bench, and I really love this option for clients who complain of a sore neck when using the aerobic step board. When using this version, make sure that your bench again is against the wall and drop your glutes just under the lower bench edge. Practice the move first before adding a barbell or dumbbell. Another option to use is the Swiss ball and can work okay if the weight is not too heavy that you're working with. And I find this best to use just dumbbells or short barbells or body weight or with bands. Because you are using the ball, core stability and setup is very critical to avoid injuries. Make sure you follow the following steps if you're using a Swiss ball. Place a Swiss ball against the wall or a corner of a wall. For shorter individuals, you might have to place a mini stool or stack a firm, large surface of books or a thick, hard pad under where your glutes would drop. You can also just do this with just the range of motion and dropping and lifting without any risers or extra support underneath your glutes. When using a Swiss ball, it is important not to lean back with your head so you keep your eyes facing forward. Test out the thrust before adding any weight to your hips to make sure that your glutes feel well and your lower back as well. You can also opt out the hip thrust for a chair, yet this is my least favorite option as most chairs are too high and do not provide enough room for your shoulder blades to be so fully supported on. But if this is all you have, then follow these steps. Set up a chair against the wall to secure and avoid slipping your back and hurting yourself. Drape your chair if it doesn't have any cushion. Place your shoulder blades on the edge of the chair and your chin facing forward towards your chest. You might have to use a mini stool or a stack of hard books underneath where your glutes would land if the chair is too high. A coffee table is another thing that you can use to perform hip thrust. Yet this is another least favorite option of mine as most coffee tables have a hard surface and are not comfortable unless you have an older Ottoman coffee table. But if this is all you have, make sure you follow the following tips. Set the coffee table against the wall or against your couch to secure it to avoid any slips and hurting yourself. Drape your coffee table with a mat or a blanket, and then place your shoulder blades on the edge of the table with your chin facing forward towards your chest. You might have to place something underneath your glutes depending on the height of your coffee table. Another good option for home hip thrust is using a couch, and it can be a great option for beginners or those who have a small home gym setup. And depending the height of your couch, you may need to make some adjustments or not at all. Make sure you place your shoulder blades on the edge of the couch with your chin facing forward towards your chest. Also, you might have to stack up something underneath your glutes if the couch is way too high. Test out the hip thrust before adding any weight to your hips to make sure that your glutes have a good drop and your lower back is not affected. A bed would be the last option I would choose if all other options are not available, as the height on most beds are just way too high. You would definitely need to do some adjustments for your glutes to feel secure and your lower back not to be affected. Make sure that with this exercise, you most likely want to do more body weight or banded exercises versus putting a large weight over top of your hips. Not feeling your glutes when thrusting? Here are some simple corrections you can make to feel your glutes working versus your quads and hamstrings or lower back. Position your feet with toes straight forward or slightly wider than shoulder width apart, with your toes pointed outwards. Play around with this stance and see what feels best. You can also elevate your heels off the floor to ensure that your glutes are working and not your quadriceps. This can be done in either a narrow or wide stance. The angle of your knees also play a role if your glutes, hamstrings, or quads are being activated. If you're feeling more of your hamstrings, then your legs are too far away from your hips and you're not feeling your glutes. If this is the case, make sure that you line up your heels with your knees to give you more of a 90-degree bend. Make sure that you are squeezing and pushing through the heels when lifting your hip to activate the glutes. Keep your gaze forward and avoid pushing your back and your head into the riser to lift your booty. As you can see in the clip here, I only use my hips to make the move. If you're looking for more tension for building better glutes or having problems with activating your glutes, then follow along on this clip and discover how using bands and where to place them for better activation. There are many types of bands that you can use. There are rubber loop bands, resistant bands that you can tie up, and fabric bands, all which come in various sizes. Bands add more tension in the glutes and take it out of the quads. You can place the bands above or below the knees. I find the loop rubber bands best to work for beginners and just under the knees to avoid the band from running up into the thighs. Place the band under your knees and hook your shoulder blades on the bench. Open your legs out wide and point your toes out as the direction of your knees, and ensure that your knees are not caving. Perform the thrust, squeeze the glutes at the top, at the same time pushing the knees outwards with the resistant band. When you are ready to start using the fabric bands that add a lot of tension, I like to place mine just above the knees, but do have some clients that have bowed legs and do better under the knees. Make sure the band label is in the middle, facing up to create a balanced tension. Again, hook your shoulder blades onto the bench with the tension against your knees of the bands. All the movements of any level of band tension is the same, pushing up with your glutes and your hips, along with pushing against the bands with your thighs, and locking your glutes at the top with your eyes gazing forward.
Thank you for watching my channel today and allowing me to be part of your health and fitness journey. If you have any comments, please leave them behind, or if there's any topic that you want me to cover, I'd love to hear about it. Thank you so much again. Love, Evie.